Here at Paddy Power, we're the home of the Money Back Special, with some incredible offers every single week. Check out the website or app today. Terms and conditions apply. 18 plus. BeGambleAware.org.
Welcome along to the GAA Postcast in association with Paddy Power. I'm David Jennings from the Racing Post, and I'm joined once again by our brand new football pundit Paddy O'Rourke and Paddy Ahern from our sponsors Paddy Power. Now, those of you who listened last week will know that Paddy O'Rourke made a cracking debut. He did tip under 32.5 points in Down v Armagh and Cavan over 13.5 points. So it was a breathtaking debut from the Mead man. So hopefully there's more of the same to come later in the show. And we've got a cracking weekend of football action with 7 games in the provincial championships. But before we move on to that, it's time for quick fire questions. And the first of your 3, Paddy, is: if you were the Louth manager on Saturday evening, tell us what tactics you would use against Dublin.
I don't think there's any tactics you could use to stop Dublin on Saturday evening. I think you'd be just telling the Louth lads to go out and learn as much from the lads that they're going to be marking and learn as much from the team that they're going to be playing. I don't think there's anything to gain from going out and parking 14 lads behind the ball, because I think Dublin will win either way. So I think it'll be a learning experience for all them lads in Louth to just go out and test themselves against the best in the country and have a go and see if they can notch as many scores on the board as possible. Probably the biggest thing is to try and get a goal, maybe 2 goals. That'd be the biggest thing now. I don't think there's any other way of attacking the game.
So you'd set them a target of at least scoring a goal?
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. Now we're in question number 2. We're in 2019 now. I want you to give me the year of the next time Dublin will lose in Leinster. So I want you to pick a year. How far into the future, I don't know. But tell us the year that you think Dublin will next lose in Leinster.
I've written down here 2021.
Wow.
I think
that's
Dublin
a lot sooner than I would have thought.
No, I think Dublin will. I think they'll get their 5 in a row this year, and I think a few of the lads at the upper end of the age scale will tip off into the sunset. You know, you'd have Michael Darragh Macaulay, Cluxton, Philly McMahon, Bernard Brogan, Kevin McManaman, and Dara Daly there. So there'd be a few lads there. Some of the mainstay, the older grafters on the squad might tip off. Just leave them a little bit susceptible to getting bet, but not for 2 years. Okay,
I had written down 2024 as my answer, so you're a little bit more optimistic than I am. And your third and final question: we saw Rian O'Neill make an impressive championship debut for Armagh last weekend, scoring 8 points against Down. Can you give us the name of another young player who could make a real name for himself this summer?
Matthew Ruan from Mayo. He'll be playing midfield for Mayo at the weekend, and I think he's after settling in well to the Mayo team. He's from Brafey, the same club as Aidan O'Shea. He had a good year with the DCU Sigerson team, and I think he's one to definitely watch out for the rest of the summer.
Okay, Matthew Ruan, a cracking find for Mayo. Okay, Paddy Ahern, your 3 quick-fire questions are: number 1, how was last weekend from Paddy Power's perspective on the football front, and what was your worst result?
It was an absolutely great weekend. Now I have to say, for results wise. Oh, I'm telling you, yeah, we can't do anything wrong. It's great altogether. We got the favourites beaten the first night, even though Cavan were fancied. When we got Monaghan beat, we laid a good bit of Monaghan in play actually, and that turned out to be a fairly good result. The Armagh draw was a great result because we laid a fair bit of Armagh now. So I don't know how they managed to draw the match in normal time.
Absolutely bloody blessed.
Yeah, 100%, because we had that completely gone. I mean, I was realising outright, just making sure that Armagh had won the game. Then I realised it was draw. It was completely a bolt from the blue. Now we were very, very lucky in that regard. So that kind of just left the lad. The worst result was Galway. We actually ended up cutting the handicap closer to the off. It wasn't because of any massive money or anything like that. We were just seeing pockets of money around. We couldn't let Bean and Sligo for good reason. I actually thought, like, during the game, the Sligo were probably a little bit unlucky not to stay within. Like, they conceded a lot late against a decent wind in the second half. They were actually, relatively spirited. They only went in 2 points down at the break, but Galway would have been our worst result. But I won't be bringing out the violins or anything like that. It was a very, very good weekend for us.
Okay, question number 2. What was the biggest bet struck with Paddy Power last weekend, and who was it on?
Yeah, it would have been on Armagh. So, on a couple of shops around Dundalk there, and that we laid about a couple of 4-figure bets on Armagh. So we were, as I say, we were lucky to get out alive. But yeah, we'll take it any way we can.
Okay, and your third and final question is, what do you think will be the most popular bet with punters on the football front this weekend? It's a bumper weekend of action. What do you think will be the most popular bet with punters?
Yeah, there's a lot so far, but just judging by the money at the minute, we've had to move the price a bit already, but we're still, I'd say there's probably a little bit more movement in it. Punters seem to really like Kildare. I wouldn't be so convinced in them, but I think the fact Longford are kind of decimated a small bit, they're missing a couple of big players. Punters reckon that the 3 against on the Kildare side is definitely too big, I would imagine, just judging by the cash, and I'd say that'll continue up until Sunday.
Okie doke, so we've still got some loyal Lily White supporters. Okay, let's get stuck into this weekend's action. Starting off on Saturday, McHale Park, 7 o'clock, live on Sky Sports. It is Mayo v Roscommon. Paddy Ahern, take it away with some prices.
Yeah, it's a 2-9 Mayo. Roscommon are 10-1 and 9-2 Roscommon. Or sorry, the draw is 10-1. Roscommon are 9-2. The handicap Mayo -5 is even money. The handicap draw is 10-1 and Roscommon +5 is 10-11.
Paddy O'Rourke, what is the big difference between the Mayo team of 2018 and the Mayo team of 2019?
I think, having Horn back involved, he's after putting a lot of belief back into the lads. Maybe some of the older lads might have, their thinking might have wavered a little bit with the shock result to Kildare in the championship and that. But I think right from the get-go, from early on, there was interviews with Lee Keegan saying that, some of the older lads were surprised that once the trial matches came back around, every single of the older lads was expected to be there early in the season, and kind of set the precedent early on that they had to be involved and had to pull up their socks. So I think the belief is back within that group of Mayo lads. I think Cillian O'Connor will feature at some point, hopefully at the weekend. We'll get to see him maybe fit again. So I think, they're beginning to believe down there, and maybe getting a trophy in Croke Park early in the year is going to stand to them later on throughout the summer.
Paddy Ahern, what can we expect from Roscommon this year? Do you think they'll reach the Super 8s again?
It's going to be much, much more difficult than it was in previous years. They've been kind of pampered in the last couple of years in the sense that they've had a lovely run to the Connacht final. Whatever they did in the Connacht final, they only had one game to go to reach quarter-final of the Super 8s. It's like this game is going to be, it's obviously vital to how their summer is going to go, because if they lose, then they have a kind of a long qualifier route. If they win, again, they've only got the one game left to the Super 8s. But like, I just think in terms of price of this game, that like if you looked at what they were going off against Galway for the last couple of years, like even away, they're kind of going off again, kind of 4-11, 2-5, 1-3 prices, and now we're making a big kind of a jump to go 1-5, 2-9 with a 5-point handicap against Mayo. Like even still, it's very, very, it's tricky enough at the minute to see what kind of a price the Mayo Galway kind of final is going to have, and Galway have a very, very good head-to-head record against Mayo, but they're not. I wouldn't say they're a million miles behind them. So I think in terms of the discrepancy between those prices, I think it's very big, and I'd give Roscommon a huge price. I'd give them a huge chance to definitely stay within the 5, and I wouldn't really put anyone off back in kind of the 9-2, 5-1 that's out there as well, because I think it's going to be, they're going to try and stifle Mayo. Antti Cunningham's going to come with a fairly kind of a robust, I think it's going to be an aggressive enough performance, and Mayo will need to call on Cillian, and they'll need to call on all these big guys to get through this, because I think it's going to be a very, very tough game for them.
Okay, I wasn't expecting that. So Paddy Ahern thinks it's going to be tight, gives Roscommon a big chance. Paddy O'Rourke, do you agree?
I do, yeah. I've been impressed with Roscommon early on in the year, and their demolition job early in the Connacht Championship already. Yeah, they've been looking at this game now from a while out, and I think they're after poaching a fella from Kerry, Cox up front. He adds a little bit more score and threat to their full forward line, and I think I'd certainly be, on paper, I'd be picking their forwards over the Mayo forwards that are going to start on Saturday evening. You've Cottle Craig there at centre forward, who's an absolutely outstanding footballer as well. So it's going to be very close, and I think it's going to be closer than the betting suggests.
Okay, so you got both your bets up on the two main games last weekend. So everybody is listening intently now. They want to know, what is Paddy O'Rourke's best bet on the Mayo v Roscommon match coupon?
I'm going to go for a short price again. Roscommon to score more than 13.5 points. That's 5 to 6. And then I'll have a small few quid myself then on Cathal Craig, anytime goal scorer. He's about 6 to 1 there.
Okay, so over 13.5 Roscommon points. Do you concur, Paddy Ahern?
Jesus, Paddy was stealing Damien's notes last week, and now he's doing the exact same to me because I called Craig as well. I thought he was definitely a decent price at 16s first and any time. I don't think there's going to be many goals in it, but yeah, he's definitely worth a bit of a saver. I'm for the best bet, I'm definitely going to keep it simple. I just think Roscommon +5. I think Mayo are bad favourites. They have, in the last couple of years, they've been 1 to 6 against Derry. They've drawn. They've been 2 to 9 against Cork. They've drawn. They've lost against Kildare at 4 to 11. I think they're hard to trust at short handicaps, and I definitely think Roscommon +5 is definitely worth a good few quid.
Wow. So listeners' ears are pricked. There could be an upset on the cards at McHale Park on Saturday night. I don't think there's going to be an upset at O'Moore Park in Portlaoise at 7 o'clock. It is the return of the All-Ireland champions. Dublin face Louth in the Leinster Senior Football Championship quarter-final. Paddy Ahern, how big is the handicap?
It is a 17-point handicap. I'll just throw out the match prices just in case anyone wants a bit of 25 to 1 Louth or the 50 to 1 the draw. Dublin 1 to 100. Just, buying money really. It's 17-point handicap. Dublin are even money. The handicap draw is 12s and Louth +17 or 10 to 11.
Now, Paddy, you've already said that you do fancy Dublin to complete the 5 in a row, but are we right to doubt them a little bit after an indifferent league campaign?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely you've every right to question them, all right. In terms of for the last 4, they have kind of ran through leagues. They got beaten by Kerry in one final, but in terms of general round robin in the league, they've done exactly what you'd expect them to do and go out and beat everyone. For them to go out and not qualify for the final and lose the games they did was a bit of a shock. I just think they are in kind of 5 in a row mode, and the thing about the problem I think with Dublin this year is you're trying to pick holes in Dublin, you're trying to see the doubts in Dublin, but actually the doubts are in everybody else more so. And there's huge doubts between Kerry's defensive kind of system they have in place. Tyrone have changed up their system, but I would have doubts after seeing the Derry game that they're almost too open now as opposed to what they used to be. And it's going to be against the Kerrys and the Mayos that they're going to have the trouble because they're trying to prepare to go for Dublin. But as Mayo showed in the last couple of years, preparing for Dublin, you kind of take your eye off the ball to get to that point, and then you're kind of screwed every way. Again, with Mayo, they've won a league and they're looking okay, but there's still certain doubts as well. So, I mean, people have a right to question because they are 4 to 6 favourites, but adding back Rory O'Carroll and the possibility of Connolly coming back, we still have a really, really strong panel and we still have lads pushing for places everywhere.
Now, Paddy O'Rourke, you've kind of answered what you would do if you were the Louth manager, but do you think Louth will park the bus on Saturday night?
I don't think so. I personally hope they don't, because the game will start at 7 o'clock and it'll be finished at 7:05. I think they have to just go out and give it a go. There's no point in parking the bus against Dublin because they'll beat you every way. They're able to do it every way.
Yeah, but they won't beat you by 17 or 18 points.
I think that if you try and go that defensive and you're trying to keep everybody inside your own half and trying to work the ball out, they're
by 6. You go into your next game. We only lost by 6 points to Dublin. No.
Their key to success over the last few years has been their turnovers and work rate and tackling in their forward line. So if you're messing around with the ball inside 45 and you get turned over, the speed and the quick transition into attack, I think they do you for goals, which is something we haven't seen them do in the last few years, to go at a team for goals. Like on any day they could score 5 or 6 goals, and if you bring on the pressure close to your own goals, I think Dublin could do that on Saturday even. So hopefully Louth will try and play a bit of football. Okay.
Do you think they will keep within the 17-point handicap? 17 points is a lot. If you're going out and you're thinking to yourself...
Yeah, to give a team a 17-point head start. I don't think Louth are as bad as what the betting suggests. It's just the fact that we haven't seen much of them, TV highlights or anything throughout the league. They went to Down on the last game of the league and
Very
beat them.
unlucky not to qualify for a league final.
Yeah, exactly, and they'll be back up to Division 2 again. That they have super footballers. Andy McDonald, Derek Maguire, and Ryan Burns. That they have lads that are county standard across the division. Like so, I think that the 17 handicap is a little bit of an insult to Louth, and I think that's something that the players themselves will be chasing, that they won't want to get annihilated.
Okay, and will they? What do you think is the best bet on the coupon?
Cormac Costello, anytime goal scorer, and Dublin to win is 23-10. I think if he starts, he's an absolute nuisance for a cornerback to mark. He drops the shoulder and goes for goal every time he gets the ball, and I'd say he'll rattle the net once, if not a few times.
Okay, lovely stuff. So watch out for Cormac Costello. Paddy Ahern, what's the best bet on the Dublin v Louth coupon?
Yeah, we've seen Dublin are slightly vulnerable to goals, and Louth definitely have that threat, as Paddy was kind of pointing on. Andy McDonald and Ryan Burns will come on, and you've kind of got Jim McEnany as well. Wicklow scored a goal against them last year. I think both teams will score a goal at 11-8, and that'd be my bet for it. Yeah, I think Louth are good enough to score a goal, and obviously Dublin could get 4 or 5.
Okay, lovely stuff. Moving on to the curtain raiser at O'Moore Park in Portlaoise. It's at 5 o'clock. It is Carlow v Meath. Paddy Ahern, some prices and handicaps.
Yeah, Meath are 1-10. The draw is 14-1. Carlow are 15-2. Meath -7 even money. Handicap draw is 10-1. Carlow +7 is 10-11.
Paddy O'Rourke, you like me were in Park Tolchin, keeping an eye on what was happening at Anfield and in the final round of Premier League fixtures, which was more entertaining than the Meath match. But why were Meath so poor against Offaly, do you think?
I'd put it down to the fact that we had the club month there in April. Lads came back the last weekend in April and only really had a lead-in time of maybe 2.5 weeks to get back up to county training standards, and that if you'd niggles or knocks coming off the back of a club game, you were rested. Then you'd only really had one hard week, and then the week before a game is always a soft week. So that's what I'm hoping it's down to. There was a little bit of a club hangover, and that maybe Andy has rectified that and steadied the ship, and it'll be plain sailing on Saturday evening.
Okay, it'll be interesting. I suppose the one thing punters will be looking to this game, and they'll be seeing Carlow, and they'll be wondering to themselves, Paddy Ahern, will this be a dour, low-scoring eyesore? Is it going to be one of these games where getting to 12 or 13 points might be enough?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously what Carlow are going to try and get out, and that's what they're going to try and make the game like that. But if you look at Meath, they had a really good league, but they put up in Páirc Tailteann as well. They put up 2-12 against Fermanagh, which in context of what was going on in the league was an absolutely huge score, because Fermanagh, if you talk about the Black Death of football this year in the league, with the way the weather was and everything like that, our total points was nearly going down to kind of 20.5 kind of stuff. It was punters couldn't get enough of the under, because the way that Fermanagh were playing, they were really trying to stifle everything, and Meath were still good enough to kind of come out and put up a bit of a score against them in the last game. And I think they can do that to teams. They have a lot of firepower. They have a lot of they have a huge kind of scoring threat. They have Graham Riley as well, even if he doesn't start, can come off the bench and score 4 points off his left foot. So I think that's the way the Carlow are going to make it, but I actually don't think that they're going to succeed. I think with Brendan Murphy and with the two boys off the line as well, I think that was a bit of a blow to them, because you see what Stevie Poacher does when he kind of comes in. He's always on the pitch, he's always giving kind of guidance, and he's getting involved, and he's kind of geeing fellas up. I'd be a little bit worried for Carlow this weekend. I don't think it's going to be that. I think it might start off kind of tight, but I think Meath are going to pull away. I think Meath are going to win handy, to be honest.
And Paddy Ahern, if you look through Carlow's league campaign, their total points in their matches: 20 points, 26 points, 23 points, 27 points, 25 points, 29 points. The only game that they played in the league where there was over 30 points in the match was against Laois in round 7. So are we looking at unders and everything in this game?
We probably could be, but then, I mean, at the same time, Meath are going to be a Division 1 team next year. It's a big step up as well to do that in Championship. Obviously, I think it's much easier with the way that the weather is and the way the conditions are in the league. It is easier to keep it kind of lower. I think if the one team, there are a couple of teams out there kind of like Armagh, Tipperary, they're one of them as well, that are, they, for lack of a better phrase, they do try to play the game the right way. I think that Carlow are going to get a bit of a land. Like I wouldn't be rushing into the unders. If it was any other team, maybe, but I think that Meath just have the firepower to kind of get it over that point. Like if Meath start pulling away, Carlow are going to have to come out and play football. They are going to have to try and get the ball up to kind of Paul Broderick and get scores themselves. So it wouldn't surprise me to actually see the overs coming in this one, to be honest.
And what was the handicap again, Paddy?
Yeah, it's 7-point handicap in a minute. Yeah, it was 6.
7-point handicap. Paddy O'Rourke, do you think Meath will win by 8 points or more?
Yeah, I've made to beat the handicap, and then a few small quid on Mickey Newman anytime goal scorer at 12-5.
Okay, so you think it could be? You think you'll see a better Meath display here than we did against Offaly?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm banking on it.
Me too. I think you could be right. Paddy Ahern, what's the best bet on the coupon?
Yeah, I'll keep it simple as well. I think I'll go Meath -7. I think if it starts getting away from Carlow in the second half, I think Meath could pull away.
Yeah, I think that's a hat-trick for Meath -7. So the other game on Saturday night is at the Athletic Grounds. It is Antrim v last year's All-Ireland finalist Tyrone, 6 o'clock live on BBC. Paddy Ahern, what are the prices here? And just give us a price on Tyrone to win the All-Ireland as well.
Yeah, no problem. It's 1-80, 40-1, and 20-1 Antrim. The handicap is -12. The handicap -12 Tyrone, 10-11. The handicap draw is 11-1, and Antrim +12 is even money. And Tyrone, as far as I'm aware, are still 12-1 for the All Ireland, but I'll confirm that for you now in a second.
Okay. In one word, lads, Paddy O'Rourke first. And one word, yes or no, are Tyrone genuine All Ireland contenders? Paddy O'Rourke?
Yes.
Paddy Ahern?
No.
Oh, okay. Why?
They're 9-1 to win the All Ireland. So maybe I'm just, that's me subconsciously underestimating them before we start. But as I kind of touched on earlier on, I think they are kind of doing a small bit of a Mayo on it here, in the sense that I think that they're preparing too much for Dublin in the way that the style of game that they're playing now. It is looking very, very well against certain teams, but like I just couldn't believe how open they were against Derry. They finished the game off fairly well, but Derry were level with what was it, 15 minutes left in the game, and it's just like when you were watching the highlights of it, it just seemed like every time that Derry's flowed forward, there was massive, huge, wide open spaces. Funny enough, I don't think that they're going to get away with that against Donegal of all teams. I think that could be a really high scoring, really, really good game, and I'd actually fancy Donegal to win it. If Donegal win that, then they're down into the qualifiers. They're doing what Mayo does every year, and that can really kind of catch up on you. It wouldn't be a backer 9-1 now personally, and I can see why people are, because they're more expensive and all the rest. But yeah, it wouldn't be for me.
Paddy O'Rourke, the best bet in Antrim v Tyrone?
Cathal McShane anytime goal, and Tyrone is 11-5. I think he'll be placed in close to the goals, and he clipped goals in the league, and I think he's one there for a bit of a shot at. You're
an anytime goal scorer fan?
This weekend I am, sure. Like it's a 12-point handicap. Tyrone 1-80. There's not much else on it, so try and get a little bit of value for anybody that's listening. Yeah,
we love a bit of value. Paddy Ahern, what do you think is the best bet in this match?
Yeah, I go for a Tyrone over 2.5 goals. I think it's about 15-8 on our site there as well. Yeah, like just the way they're playing and now when that kind of long ball into McShane, he's going to be laying it off and going for it himself. So I definitely think the Tyrone could score 3 goals in their sleep.
Excellent. So we're in for a goal fest at the Athletic Ground, 6 o'clock live on BBC. Moving on to Sunday, it is the Ulster Senior Football Championship quarter-final where we get a glimpse, our first glimpse of the championship, of the 2019 All-Ireland winners Donegal, who face Fermanagh. Paddy Ahern, is this going to be a snore fest? How defensive do you think Armagh are going to be?
Yeah, Fermanagh are going to try and be defensive. Obviously, it's in Brewster Park. They're going to try and do everything they did in the league. But I think the Ulster final showed last year that this Donegal team have a lot of firepower. They've runners coming from deep and Owen Bon Gallagher. Like nearly every single one of their 14 can score on a given day. Paddy McPherty is going to be back. I think Fermanagh are going to try and keep it defensive, but again, I really, really fancy Donegal for this. I just think it's they proved last year they can punch holes, and I think they'll do so again on Sunday.
What price are Donegal for Ireland honours with Paddy Power?
We're 18-1 at the minute.
Lovely. There was some 22s available elsewhere before the championship started. That was a great price, and I still think 18-1 is a great price. Paddy O'Rourke, will Donegal beat the 5-point handicap against Fermanagh?
Yeah, I think they'll double it. I think they'll hammer them. I just can't warm for Fermanagh.
I'm loving this confidence.
Yeah, Fermanagh are just so boring.
Yeah, no, they're certainly a team that haven't really adapted well to their defensive structure, which has worked quite well, I thought, in the last couple of years. But maybe it's just at the end of its cycle, and I think this Fermanagh team are going to be exposed on Sunday. You think they're going to win by double figures, Paddy?
Yeah, and I don't think Fermanagh will score over 12.5 points either.
Okay, so you think that's the best bet on the coupon?
Yeah.
Okay, so under 12.5 Fermanagh points. Paddy Hearn, what do you think is the best bet here?
I think that there's a market there. Donegal to be the only team to score a goal in the game. Fermanagh's goal scoring record in the league was absolutely shocking. 2 goals, and that came in the one game. There's 9-5 in Donegal to be the only team to score a goal, and that's definitely a bet. Okay,
love the sound of that. Moving across to Leinster, 2 o'clock O'Connor Park. It is Westmeath v Laois. 2 teams that know each other so well. They met in the Division 3-sider earlier on this year. Westmeath won 113 points. Evenly matched sides, Paddy O'Rourke. 2 teams that, you know, they on their day, they're kind of dangerous against a Meath and a Kildare. But who do you think is the better of the 2 teams?
I think slightly Westmeath, but like you said, they know each other inside out, and they're just going to go out and go at it. I'm looking forward to this one. I think this will be a high scoring game, and it'll be entertaining. So yeah, Westmeath slightly for me. Okay,
and what do you think is the best bet on the coupon?
I've written down 2. I think Westmeath will score more than 15.5 points at 4-5, and then the total overs at 10-11 for over 31.5. I think that 2 of them will be broke.
Beautiful. A high scoring shootout in store, Paddy Hearn?
Yeah, I'm a big Westmeath fan. I think Jack Cooney's building something pretty big there. I think they'll just slightly win the match, but I think the best bet in the coupon is going to be Westmeath to win the match and both teams to score a goal. You can get 7-2 on that on our site.
Okay, and our final match that we're going to preview this weekend, it is another Leinster Senior Football Championship quarter-final, 4 o'clock in O'Connor Park. Longford v a beleaguered Kildare side, which were really, really, really poor against Wicklow, particularly in the second half. Paddy, what the hell happened Kildare against Wicklow in the second half? And is that as good as this Kildare team is?
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard one to call. Like for players, I don't know where Neil Flynn was that day, and Daniel Flynn, when you've got the best footballer in the county who essentially just doesn't want to come in and play. Like I think there's big problems there.
He's isn't he? I think he's abroad.
You know, apparently he's back. Yeah, because he's back because he played for Johnston Bridge in the Kildare Championship, like, you know, a couple of weeks beforehand. So by all accounts, he was supposed to be travelling. He was in New York for a while, but he's back in the country from everything that we're hearing, and still isn't playing for Kildare. Niall Kelly was away, but he can't seem to start either. So everything isn't rosy there in Kildare. But like I said at the top of the show, it's the same for Longford. Robbie Smith is gone, and there's a good few guys injured now. Donald McKillett is gone. I'm not too sure about David McGivney. There's a few of them unactive lads who have come back in, but they do seem to be a little bit more depleted than they were last year when they beat Meath. They're a very spirited side. They always actually give kind of their showing, but you know, they're going to have very little coming off the bench here, and like I said, like our punchers are kind of suggesting that Kildare should win the game handy enough. I'm not so sure myself, but yeah, if I had to pick a bet in the coupon, I'd probably say that Longford maybe half-time, Kildare full-time is about 4-1. With very little coming off the bench, you could see them running out of gas, but I think that like you'd have to expect that they'll give them a game for as long as they can anyway.
Excellent. Paddy O'Rourke, you know this Kildare team inside out. You've played against them on numerous occasions. What can we expect from them on Sunday?
I'd be hoping that we'll see a couple of their under 20 stars from the last couple of years to start shining. I think they have Jimmy Hyland there, was the best footballer in Ireland yet last year at under 20. Another inside forward, Ben McCormack, lively operator as well. I don't know what the story is with Daniel Flynn. I think he, like with every genius, there seems to be a little bit of madness about him, why he's not involved. The same with Kelly, why is he not involved? He's a very good footballer, but Yeah, I think Kildare will be too dominant, and I think up the middle, their spine will be strong, and I think that will see them through. I think they'll break the handicap bet as well.
Okay, so the best bet in Kildare v Longford is?
Well, it's -3. I think the handicap at 10 to 11, and as another anytime goal scorer, Ben McCormack anytime in Kildare 6 to 1.
Lovely, nice bit of value there. 6 to 1. Ben McCormack to score a goal anytime and Kildare to win the match. So now it's time for our best bets of the weekend.
This will not be beaten.
Right, Paddy O'Rourke, everybody's been waiting for this. What is your best bet of all the weekend action? You've got plenty to choose from.
I'm going for Cormac Costello anytime goal in the Dublin match at 23 to 10. I think that is a standout.
Paddy Ahern?
Yeah, Donegal to be the only team to score a goal on Sunday against Fermanagh 9 to 5. That's definitely my best bet of the weekend, isn't it?
Okay, and I'm going to go against everything you two lads said, and I think Mayo are going to hammer Roscommon. So I'm going Mayo -5 at even money. So that's it for this weekend's football chat. My thanks to Paddy O'Rourke for his excellent expertise on this weekend's action. Paddy Ahern from Paddy Power will be joining us again in part 2, where we'll be joined by former Kilkenny attacker Aidan Fogarty.
Friends, or maybe more. Earn a 20 quid free bet for every friend you refer to Paddy Power, thanks to our Friends with Benefits programme. Log in to your Paddy Power account and share your referral link to get started. Terms and conditions apply. 18+, begambleaware.org.
Welcome back to our GAA Postcast, and it's time for Hurling Chat. Of course, we had a cracking weekend of action last weekend. Not quite as plentiful this weekend, as it's just Galway v Wexford at Pearse Stadium on Sunday. I'm delighted to be joined by our regular hurling pundit Aidan Fogarty, and once again by Paddy Ahern from our sponsors Paddy Power. Okay, Aidan, your 3 quickfire questions for this week are, and number 1, oh ye of little faith. We spoke on the podcast last week and I told you all that people were writing off Cork too early. So can the Rebels now win the All-Ireland after beating last year's All-Ireland champions Limerick last Sunday?
Yeah, DJ, I was waiting for this one. All right, what a difference a week makes. They were a different size. They took me back, But I suppose realistically, what really happened during the week was for Cork was just their mindset, total different mindset, and because there wouldn't have been the training during the week, it would have been ice baths and recovery all week. So there's just obviously talking and showing it out on the table, I suppose, a few honest issues with the players, and they come out a different team, and by all sorts, like the change. John Myler took risks in 4 changes to the team, giving Robert Downey a debutant and champion as well on wing back, and they were just their tackling, their intensity, their work rate, all things you associate with championship just came to the fore, and I suppose one of the biggest things as well was Alan Cadigan going in corner forward, just gave a whole new dynamic to the forward line and gave a whole new energy to that forward line. And the question was, can Cork win the Ireland? Of course they can, as can another 6 teams as well, DJ. So look, they're still there. One swallow doesn't make a summer. They'll have to back it up with another performance against I think it's the Ennis, I think it is, which is huge.
So if you say 6 teams can win the All-Ireland, roughly now, whereabouts are Cork in that top 6? Roughly, if you were to put a figure on them, you think they're the 3rd, 4th, 5th most likely team to win the All-Ireland?
I would suggest, going on last week's performance, and possibly the first week's as well, like it's up and down, I give them maybe about 4th place to win the All-Ireland at the minute.
Lord,
yeah.
Holy God.
I still have my doubts about it in defence and when it comes, but if they get to Croke Park, Munster is going to be their
When, Aidan? When?
When or if, but I say if they get to Croke Park, they're going to be very, very dangerous. Open space, and they learned from last year up there as well. I think it could be very dangerous if they got to Croke Park.
Okay, so Aidan Fogarty still needs some convincing about Cork. Question number 2. Between League and Championship, which team has impressed you most so far in 2019?
Yeah, I suppose, DJ, you're looking at 2 different teams, 2 Munster teams really. League, you'd have to look at Limerick. They coasted through the league and obviously became league champions, and you'd look at it now where they really tested, where there other teams that were just aiming for championship, and Limerick were just they had their team settled on, and they were trying different players, and there was a hungerness in the Limerick team to get on the team for championship. But they were hit with a real nail in the coffin. That's again against Cork. Did they buy into the kind of, maybe I mentioned it last week about becoming complacent without them even knowing themselves, were getting complacent, and their levels dropped. And what I felt, last year's championship, Mulcahy hit, I think it was Spillane in the corner and really got the crowd going, and there was a kind of a fight and a no back down attitude, and that was just missing on last Sunday. And they're the small things that Limerick need to get back to, that hungerness, that real kind of drive for championship, because every team is going to be gunning for them, and any team that beat Limerick is going to be a huge confidence boost to them. So I'd have to say Limerick on league performance, but then again, you look at championship, there's no looking past Tipperary. I think Eamon O'Shea coming into the background has really done wonders again, because if you look at the way Tip are playing, Tip didn't become a bad team overnight. What happened to them was maybe they become a little bit inconsistent and didn't really know of how to play what they were used at. But Tip have now Eamon O'Shea and obviously Sheedy back at the helm, and the players really believe in this system that they play. Eamon, the way the Tip forwards play, they play a kind of a roving role. They don't play in positions. We came up against this. It was very hard to play against. Bubble slips out to centre forward. McGrath slips into corner. Keep on the move. And obviously their confidence is an all-time high. And they're believing in Sheedy as well. And they're believing in the whole movement of Tip can progress. And if you look at it, it's actually the older stock. It's the Mars, it's the Brendan Mars, it's the Candlins. It's these guys which won in Ireland under Sheedy. And they're probably telling the young fellas, look, just buy into it and we can really get there. So Tip for me are on a real high. Now, the thing is, they're a confidence team. Have they been really hit? They played a poor Cork team, I suppose, on the first day. Waterford, it's really lacklustre. Like, they didn't put up a performance at all. The sending off obviously didn't help. But they racked up some serious scores, 230 and 228 for Tipperary. So you couldn't look past them for championship or the Munster title at the minute, the way they're going.
Okie dokes, and finally, question number 3, and we don't want reasons, we just want names. Tell me the 3 teams that will emerge from the Munster Championship. Just 3 names, that's all I want. You don't have to justify them, just 3 names.
God, it's like looking into a field of thistles. This is I go Tipperary because of their form, and I'll go Limerick because I just think there's more in them, and they're a serious panel. And I think they will get to a level of consistency. And then for me,
left now. You've only one chance left.
It's between Clare and Cork, and I'm going to go Clare because I have backed them kind of for an outsider for the All-Ireland. So I'm afraid Cork doesn't make it through on my backing. So Tipperary, Clare. God.
Okay, you've got one right, because I think it'll be Tipperary. I think you might have 2. I think it'll be Tipperary, Clare and Cork. I think Limerick and Waterford might miss out. But anyway, time will tell. Paddy Ahern, your 3 quick-fire questions. The first of yours is, how was last weekend from a Paddy Power perspective on the hurling front, and what was your worst result?
Yeah, at the end of the day, it was a very, very good result. We were nearly sending out the distress signals after Tip beat Waterford, because there was a lot of running up money on Limerick, and there was a little bit of that money kind of going on Wexford as well. So kind of around 3:30 on Sunday, we were getting a bit panicky. We'd taken Limerick on in the outright in Munster, and we'd taken them on for the match as well. So we were just getting a little bit kind of hot under the collar that we'd got it wrong, but thankfully we came out the other side of it. But Tip weren't a great result. We were kind of, I think, straight away after the performance against Clare, punters kind of copped onto it pretty quick. We have all the matches up until like the last games in Leinster and Munster now, they're all on site. So even during that kind of Waterford-Clare game, you could see a couple of guys were latching on to the fact that Tip would have been too big for that Waterford game, and it proved to be that way in the end. Like after Conor Gleeson's goal, it was always going to be after Conor Gleeson sending off, it was always going to be a bit of a struggle trying to keep them as short as we could. So the lads took a few quid off us in that result, but definitely the other 2 results, in particular the Limerick one, were really, really good.
Okay, number 2, what price have Limerick gone out to for All Ireland glory now, and has there been any interest in them in that market since Sunday?
Yeah, there was a fair bit of a walk. Like, they're gone out to 11-2 now, because that would have been a big game in Munster. They're really, really hot under the collar now. Like, that last game against Tip is going to be huge. There is a chance that Tip are going to be true for that game, but there isn't a Tipperary man alive who wouldn't want to knock out Limerick, whether they're through or not. Like, there's no such thing as dead rubbers in Munster Hurling Championship, because everyone's going to be trying to beat each other. We shoved them out to 11-2 straight after it, and there was
30, was it?
Yeah, from 130. Yeah, there was nothing mental now since. I mean, we've seen a couple of kind of 50s and 100 quids since then at 11-2 since kind of Sunday night. They're still our biggest loser by quite a distance in the outright, but I think we have to be kind of happy with that, considering that the base point that we started. And there's still a few believers, but definitely the glass has been taken off them, and the kind of fancy has been taken off them a little bit after last weekend.
Yeah, I think Cork have proved once again that they're just a better team than Limerick. Okay, question number 3. Free tenner. Who do you put it on to lift Liam at the current prices?
Yeah, this is my pitch now for when I'm down in Nolan Park on the 9th. The Taggy will buy me a few points, because I think Kilkenny are the ones that are the biggest danger at the current prices for Liam McCarthy, most definitely. They're already through from Leinster. I mean, they're favourites to lift Leinster now. We'll have to see what happens after Galway and Wexford on Sunday. But, obviously with Galway missing their talisman, with both Dublin and Wexford, I think last day kind of really showing that I think they're a little bit off what's required at the very top level to kind of go far in the championship. Kilkenny will have a handy way through. Like, if they can get through those Galway games, they're going to be straight into an All-Ireland semi-final. Kilkenny and Croke Park. Kilkenny had one game in Croke Park last year against Galway where they were highly unfancied for. They still drew the match. They have TJ Reid, who's hurling absolutely out of his skin. They have potentially Joey Holden to come back. If Owen Murphy comes back, he's absolutely massive. Conor Delaney can come back into the team as well. They're going to have to bring on one or two of their kind of younger fellas, but Adrian Mullen is kind of tipping away with a couple of points. The more game time he gets, the better for Kilkenny. And I think they're a real danger.
What price are they, Paddy?
They are 5-1 now for the outright.
5. You think that the best bet for All Ireland honours is Kilkenny at 5-1?
At the minute, I do, just because their run is so handy. If they can get through there, like if they can get straight to an All Ireland semi final, like they probably are going to be outsiders against Munster team in an All Ireland semi final. But you can still, I mean, I generally don't think there's going to be that much between. Like, if Kilkenny and Galway get there with teams after a hard Munster championship, if there was no prices involved, Tipperary would be my pick for the All Ireland. But yeah, I still think I think of the prices, and just for the very handy run that they have out of Leinster, I think they're I definitely think with the prices around, there's a bit of juice in Kilkenny.
So you're telling me if the All Ireland semi final was tomorrow at Croke Park between Kilkenny and Cork, that you'd back Kilkenny?
Depending on the prices, but yeah, if they were big enough, no question. Yeah.
Okay. On that bombshell, it's time to move on to this weekend's action. It is Pearse Stadium at 4:00 on Sunday. It's Galway v Wexford. Probably the biggest game in the Leinster Hurling Championship so far this season. Paddy Ahern, can we get some prices and handicaps, please?
Yeah, Galway are 2-5. The draw is 10-1. Wexford are 5-2. Handicap betting, it's Galway -4 at 11-10. The handicap draw is 12-1, and Wexford +4 is 5-6.
Aidan Fogarty, what did you make of Wexford last weekend?
Yeah, I thought they were good. I thought they're going to be a team that's going to be hard to beat. But Paddy, I think, hit the nail on the head. I think they're lacking what it's going to take to maybe move on to the next level. The thing with Wexford is they'll get to a certain point. They'll get to an Ireland quarter-final maybe. But they just can't get up to that extra level. They go to a 70% and they can't seem to get past it. And they're nearly, I won't say happy enough, but look, if they lose by 4 or 5 points, they'll be saying, oh, look, we're there or thereabouts. But it's the system they're playing. And in fairness to Davy, he came into him 3 years ago and the low ebb in Wexford, and he really got them going. He got Wexford crowd behind him. He got a new vibe into him. He obviously went to a whole new professional level, and the players are buying into him. But now it's the second year, third year kind of syndrome, where I just think the same bite. The supporters are looking for something different. They're looking for the next level, and they don't seem to be able to get there. And I think the hype and the buzz about Wexford is gone a little, and that's affecting the team. And I think the way they actually play, they actually have better players now than they had 2 or 3 years ago. Like the Conor McDonald, the Lee Chins, the Rory O'Connors, these guys, I think the system is actually hampering them. You know, they run from deep, they run the ball, they play a bit of a sweeper system. But I feel if they just kind of like man up and maybe just play a system, no doubt about it, every team must have some sort of strategy. But play a system, play a different type of system, a more direct system. Because I think the players they have, I think they're actually man on man, they're able to win their own ball, and they're good in the air, and they're very, very athletic. And I just think the system's actually hampering them. So I just think they need something different. But as I feel, they won't go to the next level. They'll take down the big team, but they won't go to the next level or win an Ireland or compete for Leinster glory, in my opinion.
Now, Paddy Ahern, I don't want your heart ruling your head here. So I want you to be brutally honest. With Limerick beaten last weekend, are Galway now the most likely All-Ireland winners?
I don't believe they are. Again, with Kilkenny have a big win under the belt, and then on the other side of it, I think like the most likely All-Ireland winners after the 2 games, with the potential they have and what they've shown, and they really seem to be back to form, are probably going to be Tipperary if you took the prices out of it. I think that Galway have a lot to prove at the minute. I'd actually echo nearly exactly everything that Taggy says. Like Wexford do have better players now than they had when Davy came in. Like, the likes of Damien Reck, the likes of Rory O'Connor, the likes of even Cathal Dunbar, and they have a couple of guys to come on now as well. And they have they've much more of a scoring threat than they're actually shown in games. And one thing that he touched on there, which is true, I think, is I don't think they're going to win an Ulster Championship. I don't think they're going to threaten for an All-Ireland Championship. But they do have the capacity to bring down a big team in a one-off game. And if I had to say which game that was going to be, I think I'd be slightly worried that it could be this weekend against Galway. Now, Galway have had a bit of they have had an Indian sign over them for the last couple of years. Like, they've beaten them very, very well. But a lot of the things that you kind of see in that is that, like, I think in every single game, I think Canning has had a really, really good game. Not so much in just because he's like shooting the lights out and he's scoring, but he plays centre forward and he marks Matt O'Hanlon. And what Matthew O'Hanlon kind of does is he's the most unorthodox centre back in the country at the minute, because he starts at number 6. He takes his position at number 6, but he pops up absolutely all over the place. So what you actually saw last week as well for one of the goals against Dublin, he pops up and he's standing in the 6-yard box, kind of taking defenders away to make space for other guys. And that actually, I think, used to suit Canning a bit, because Canning kind of likes playing out the field when he has to play out the field, where he'd be kind of playing around, picking up ball around midfield and kind of distributing ball and that kind of stuff. It's going to be very, very important to see who Galway play at centre forward for this game. Jason Flynn was centre forward against Carlow. I don't think this role would suit him in any way, shape or form, because he's an inside forward and he's a complete scorer. I don't think he's going to, in any way, shape or form, enjoy kind of chasing a fella around the field if he had to. So you'd like to see from Galway point of view, I think Joseph Cooney is back about a month, maybe 6 weeks now. I'm not too sure where his fitness was at the start of the championship, but he's a pretty important player for Galway. I'd like to see him start at 11 if you could. Just from a Galway point of view, it's the performance that you kind of would have liked to. I know it was a very spirited performance against Carlow and all the rest, but it's a huge game for them in the sense that, like, first of all, they are going to have to win it, because they have to go to Nolan Park and they have to go to Parnell Park. And I think you're going to want to see a performance as well. I think it's going to be tight. Like, I'm not saying there's, gun to my head, you'd hope that Galway might come out by a point or two, but like, there's no way that they're going to beat them by the 9 points or the 7 points or whatever that they've been doing in championship for the last 2 years.
Aidan Fogarty, who wins?
I think Paddy mentioned it there. Joe Cannon is a huge loss for Galway, and in the terms of not even scoring capacity, but it's kind of when teams are on top of Galway, they need someone to kind of maybe just tack on a free here and there, or tack on a point here and there. And Joe Canning was always the man that maybe when the Limericks or the Wexford were scoring 5 or 6 points in their purple patch, Joe will get 1 or 2 just to keep him in touch. And now they're missing that talisman, so he's a huge loss. Now, on the flip side, Galway are at home, which is a big, their home venue. They have to win their home matches. They're away then to Kilkenny and they're away to Dublin, so huge match for them. And I think Galway, in the back of their heads, were eyeing this game rather than the Carlow game. They would have been saying, right, we have Carlow up in Salt Hill, and we have to get a result. But at the back of their heads, them players are really gunning for Wexford. I think myself it's going to be a really, really tight game. I think Wexford are going to be gunning for it. Micheál O'Donoghue and Davy Fitz don't see eye to eye a lot of the time, so the two of the managers are going to have them well up for it. And I think it's going to be a tight game, but I just fancy Galway because I think there's a big game in them, and they're on their home stretch and they have 2 away games, so it's a huge one for them. So they need a result, so I just barely tip Galway.
Okay, marginally preferring Galway. Paddy Hearn, what's the best bet on the match coupon?
Yeah, there's a bet that we have on site there. It's under the margin of victory market, and it's either team to win by 1 to 4 or the game to be a draw at 11 to 10. It's
That's
probably
my colleague in the Racing Post, Michael Mulvihill, absolutely loves.
Yeah, and it's definitely one for this now. So obviously, the shorter price fab you have, the extra kind of point or two you're kind of going to get on this. I would say like we're offering 11.10 on it. There wouldn't be much margin in that for us, I wouldn't think. Like you could definitely kind of see that being answered on. But
is that not just basically admitting that you haven't got a clue who's going to win though?
Look at.
What's the best bet in the coupon? Well, I don't really know. It could be a draw. Wexford could win by 1, 2, 3 or 4 points, or Kilkenny could win by 1, 2 or 3 or 4 points.
Absolutely.
You're kind of putting your eggs in 2 baskets.
You're putting your eggs in how many baskets? Jeez, you're putting your eggs in about 9 baskets there anyway. But
do you think it's going to be tight?
Definitely. I think it's going to be very tight, and I think odds against is far too big for that.
Aidan Fogarty, the best bet on the coupon?
Yeah, I think it's going to be tight. I think maybe last week's game for Wexford will have them maybe they'll be in better form to start off in. So I think a draw maybe at half time and Galway to win at 10-1. They're going to come out with all guns blazing, Wexford there, and Galway maybe after the last day might be a little bit lethargic. Might take them time to go up the pace of the game, but I do feel Galway will win out in the end. But a draw at half time, Galway to win it at 10-1 is not a bad bet, I think.
Wow. Okay, we're aiming high, 10-1, a draw at half time, and Galway to win at full time. So, my sincere thanks to Aidan Fogarty for joining us on this weekend's GAA Postcast, to Paddy Ahern, who was with us in both parts, to Paddy O'Rourke, who was with us in part 1 for the football chat. I've been David Jennings from the Racing Post. Thanks for listening.
Check out Paddy's Rewards Club. Simply place 5 bets of £10 or more across any sport in a week, and you'll get a free £10 bet then next week. T&Cs apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.